Former star Tennessee linebacker Henry To'oTo'o has new information out that we need to talk about. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. So hop down to the comments and let me know where you think Henry To'oTo'o ultimately ends up. Does he stay at Tennessee? Does he go to Alabama? Or does he end up somewhere else entirely? I can't wait to see what y'all are thinking because this is a really interesting situation because of how fluid it has been. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification because I do constant college football content. Player reviews, film analysis, talk style videos like this, and I'm on my push to 5,000 subscribers in my first year, and I'd love to have you along for the journey. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and comment down below because that really does go a long ways in helping content creators like myself get picked up by the algorithm. But with all of that being said and out of the way, let's talk Henry To'oTo'o. And this is a guy who's probably the most coveted player in the transfer portal. But yesterday, and we got news from last night, from some Tennessee sources and some YouTube channels that talk about Tennessee football, that Henry To'oTo'o is back on campus. And while I'm not trying to say that he is going to be a Tennessee Volunteer, I'm not saying that he won't, I just find it very improbable, and we'll talk about that. I do think that there are a few reasons as to why he could be back on campus. This is an individual who has been enrolled in online classes at the University of Tennessee, and with Tennessee set to begin spring practice, it would make sense that the coaching staff would be doing everything they could to get him back at the buildings to get one last-ditch effort at a pitch to Henry To'oTo'o. Now, as I just said, I don't expect for Henry To'oTo'o to be a member of the Tennessee Volunteers next year. Why is that? Well, two reasons primarily. First and foremost, when you listen to his dad talk about when they transfer from Tennessee, what he said. He said that originally going to Tennessee was a mistake, they should have gone to Alabama, and that they won't be making the same mistake twice. That's pretty tall stuff to come back from if you're Tennessee. That's a pretty harsh statement that you have to work back from if you are Tennessee. And so while I don't think it's impossible, because the fact still remains that Tennessee did win the recruiting battle for To'oTo'o. They got his commitment, so there was obviously some redeeming qualities for To'oTo'o when he viewed Tennessee, and it's not like he hasn't been doing well at Tennessee. He was a freshman All-American his first year, and then only backed that up last year with another great year in college football. That's why he's one of the most coveted guys in all of the nation in the transfer portal. But the main reason and the second reason, I don't know if it's the main reason because that's pretty harsh statements from your dad coming and saying that going to the University of Tennessee was a mistake. But the second reason is because of an article published in A to Z Sports talking about the state of Henry To'oTo'o at Tennessee. And they said that guys who've been recruiting To'oTo'o for Tennessee have reached out and that they felt like it was all but done, that it was a done deal that To'oTo'o was gone and at the University of Alabama. So when you mix in the fact that his family has talked about that they felt like going to Tennessee was a mistake, they should have gone to Alabama and they won't make the same mistake twice, and then people around Tennessee have said that he feels like it's a done deal, and mind you, that article was published March 11th, so it wasn't like it was published yesterday, true, but it's not like it's super dated information either. You know, in the recruiting world, I suppose anything that's not instant is dated, but you get my point. But we still don't know what's going to happen, and if he is on campus, like I said, it's improbable that Tennessee keeps him, but they were able to show that he is able to showcase talent at the University of Tennessee, and he'll get drafted high at the University of Tennessee. That's the only thing Tennessee really has going for it right now, plus they originally won his recruitment and got his commitment. The most likely scenario, but becoming a little less likely every day, is that he goes to the University of Alabama. This is what a lot of people have expected. I think this is what a lot of Alabama fans have expected, and this has been the most talked about scenario, and it would become and create an incredible linebacker duo with the Alabama Crimson Tide, he and Christian Harris. But we're waiting for the SEC to announce what they're going to do with their one-time transfer exemption. The NCAA is going to have this one-time transfer exemption, and the entirety of college football is operating under the assumption that that is going to be the case, and the ACC has passed it so that you can transfer within conference and get that exemption, but the SEC has not, and I think that's the biggest thing holding To'oTo'o back from going to the University of Alabama right now, and I understand that the SEC is not having an easy job right now trying to navigate how they're going to move forward with COVID still very much well up in the air, but I've always had a kind of predisposition that when you're in fluid situations that could change at the drop of the hat, the best thing to do is be transparent about the situation. Let everybody know what's up so that way, most importantly, the athlete can make a decision and isn't being held hostage. I don't think the SEC has any malintent here, but the situation has created almost a hostage situation where To'o, if he wants to go to Alabama, he doesn't know how realistic of a possibility that is because he could be forced to sit out a year. And if that's the case, why would he do that when Ohio State is a program that has a massive need at the linebacker position and To'o could transfer there, in theory, compete again for a college football playoff because I don't see anybody in the Big Ten being able to stop Ohio State. Ohio State has to replace a lot, sure, but Ohio State has got a ton of talent to replace that with, and To'o could be the linebacker that really sews their linebacking core together, and Ohio State has a history of sending guys to the NFL just like Alabama. Alabama might do it more, but let's not pretend that Ohio State isn't Ohio State. And that's not the only university that could have that pitch to To'o. There are a lot of universities right now that could have that exact same pitch that are in good contention for a playoff run. Whether that be Clemson, whether that be Alabama, whether that be Ohio State, or whether that be Oklahoma. I'm not saying that any of those other schools are going to get him, but I do believe y'all understand what I am saying. So, if Henry To'o is in fact on campus at Tennessee, it is interesting, and in my opinion, it would be more because Tennessee is trying to convince him to stay. I don't think it's impossible that Tennessee is able to keep him on campus for next year, but I think it's incredibly improbable, especially when you listen to what his family had to say about Tennessee and that it was a mistake that they don't want to make again. But I can't wait to hear from y'all. So hop down to the comments and let me know what you're thinking. Where does Henry To'o ultimately end up? That's it. See ya.